Hey guys, real quick, I'm going to do the audio for the three statues. So my hair's doing something funky. There we go. Anyway, I'm going to do the audio for the three statues so you guys can work on this today. So if you have this paper, you want to follow along with me, and I will read the passage, and then I'll read the questions with you. A king is presented with three statues from a friend who is a king in a neighboring region. The king must choose one of the statues and return the other two by messenger. The three statues retold by Manorama Jaffa. One day, a messenger from a neighboring kingdom arrived at the king's court. Bowing before the throne, he held up a beautiful silver box. "Your Majesty," he said, "my king sent compliments to your respected self. He also presents you with this gift." This aroused everybody's curiosity. The king examined each one again and again, but was unable to decide which one to select. All three statues had similar carved eyes, ears, noses, hairstyles, hands, feet, fingers, and toes. They were of the same height and seemed to have the same weight. "There must be some hidden difference that I'm not able to see right away," the king thought. Turning to the messenger, he said, "I shall take some time to decide. You may leave the statues here and come back tomorrow." The king turned to the prime minister and asked, "Can you find any difference among these statues?" The prime minister examined them for a long time and wasn't able to find any differences at all. The statues were passed on to other ministers and courtiers, but all were baffled. "Is there no clever person in this court?" the king demanded. The king had a young son who had already proved himself to be wise and clever beyond his years. Seeing the prince feeding the birds in the palace garden, the king summoned him. "There are three lovely statues in this box, my son. A friend sent them to me as a gift, but I am to choose one and return the others. See if you can find any differences among them," the king said. The prince opened the box and examined the statues with great curiosity. At last he said, "Father, may I keep the statues for the night? Perhaps I shall find out something by tomorrow morning." The king gave his consent, and the prince took the silver box. He looked at the three statues for a long time. He made all the tests he could think of that would not harm the statues, but to no avail. Suddenly an idea came to him. He quickly filled a large bowl with water, then put the statues in it one after another. His face lit up as he watched small bubbles rise from the statues. The mystery was solved. The prince put the statues back into the box and hurried to the court. Everyone's eyes were on the prince as he entered. Eagerly the king asked, "Prince, do you have something to say about the statues?" "Yes, my lord," answered the prince. "These statues have a message." Puzzled, the king motioned for the prince to continue. "Some people listen to a thing with one ear and let it go through the other. Here is an example." The prince picked up one of the statues and passed a long, slender needle through its ear. The end of the needle came out of the other ear. The prince explained, "My lord, your friend wishes to convey that one should not keep the company of such people." Now the prince picked up the second statue and passed a needle through its ear. This time the end of the needle came out of the mouth. "My lord, the statue is like people who listen to a thing and soon tell it to others. The message is that no one should befriend such people, for they are very unreliable." Everyone looked attentively when the prince picked up the third statue. He passed the needle through the ear, but its end did not come out at all. "My lord, this statue is like those people who listen to a thing but keep it themselves. The message is that such people are good friends and worthy companions. Your friend has actually sent this statue to you as a gift." The messenger picked up the box with the two statues in it, bowed, and went away. The king walked up to the prince. "My son," he said, "you solved the puzzle with your cleverness and hard work. Please accept this. It's all right. My son," he said, "you solved the puzzle with your cleverness and hard work. Please accept this statue as a gift from your friend." As the ministers and courtiers cheered heartily, the prince bowed and accepted the gift. And the glossary says, "Prime Minister, the most senior member of an executive branch of government, similar to a president. Courtiers, people who are often in attendance at the court of a king or other royal people, and avail means advantage." So number one is, how does the author use paragraph 3 to prepare the reader for the rest of the story? A, by establishing the prince as wise and all-knowing. B, by showing the relationship between the king and his court. C, by setting up the conflict between the king and his neighbor. or D, by foreshadowing the explanation of the mysterious statues. Again, pause it if you need time to look at the question and go back to the answer. Pause it. Number 2, read this sentence from the story. The statues were passed on to the other ministers and courtiers, but all were baffled. What does the word baffled mean as it is used in this sentence? A, confused, B, frustrated, C, easily tricked, or D, easily angered. Number 3, how do paragraphs 3 through 6 contribute to the plot? A, by introducing a different problem, B, by providing more details about the setting, C, by developing the king as a troubled character, or D, by building the conflict around the mystery of the statues. Number 4, read this sentence from paragraph 16. My lord, your friend wishes to convey that one should not keep the company of such people. What does the word convey mean as it's used in the sentence? A, agree, B, communicate, C, pretend, or D, respond. Number 5 has 2 parts. So number 5, part A, how are the king and the prince different in the story? The king is unable to solve the problem, but the prince keeps trying. The king is powerful, but the prince gets no respect. C, the king is easily angered, but the prince is calm and friendly. D, the king is fascinated by the mystery, but the prince is troubled by it. Part B, which detail supports the answer in part A. A king summons ministers and courtiers, but the prince has no one to help him. B, the king calls for help, but the prince spends all night solving the mystery. C, the king looks at the statues with amusement while the prince performs scientific tests. Or D, the king demands a clever courtier while the prince patiently feeds the birds in the garden. And then the last question, oh no, there's 2 more. 6. Number 6, which sentence describes a theme of the story? A, good things come in all shapes and sizes. B, it's not always better to give than to receive. C, the solution to a problem is not always easily seen. Or D, after getting a gift, you should always send a gift in return. And then for number 7, it says complete the chart by selecting which phrases refer to the prince and which ones refer to the king. Some phrases may be referred to both. So you're going to check mark if it is referring to the prince, the king, or both. So some may have 2 check marks, some might have just 1. So like the first one, curious about solving the mystery. Was that phrase in the print with the prince? Was that referring to the prince? Curious about solving the mystery. Was that referring to the prince, the king, or both? So you're going to check mark one of those. Known for his cleverness. Was that referring to the prince, the king, or both? And you're going to check mark one of those. Asks for help from others. The prince. Does that refer to the prince, the king, or both? When you're done, you can turn it into Blue Basket and you can work on the rest of your mustards, ketchups, and pickles.